All right, so you guys can hear me? It's working? Okay. So this may be a weird topic. You may not have expected it. I didn't either. Tell you a little bit about what's going on and why I have my topic. First, I'd like to thank a couple people, Mona Boudreau, right, my partner, who helped me on this journey because it's a crazy journey, like so much of this is. My kids, Jamie and Zach, because, oh God, I'm gonna cry. They help me be the best mom I can and best person because I always wanted to be a good role model for them. And one of the big things that we work together on is understanding when you see somebody and they're like big and you're like, wow, they're so cool. For every great gift they have a great challenge, right? My son Zach is diabetic, and I used to tell him, you have a challenge. And to balance that, you have an amazing gift, his brain, right? Both my kids are brilliant. Because I have to say that, I'm their mom, but they are. So it's something I've lived by, is understanding if you see somebody and you're like, oh God, I'm glad I'm not like them, they have an amazing gift. You may not see it, but it's there. I want to thank Lenora, who absolutely none of you except Mona knows, except that when I got the diagnosis that I was autistic, I like bawled, because if my dad was alive, he would have called me retarded. And I'm like, that's not fair, because at the same time I got that diagnosis, I was told I was in the 97th percentile for intelligence in women my age. And I'm like, damn it, that is not retarded. It is not. Never mind that I'm board certified and stuff and have book chapters and all of that crap, right? And I also want to thank Rick Palmquist, because he is one of my inspirations. The first time I met him, he was open about being autistic, and I was like, but you're brilliant. How can you be both? And it was a huge learning journey, because I learned this like a decade ago, and it was always in my head. And he sees me, he feels me. There are times that I'm having a bad day, and he sends me one of his poems, right? Here's one, if you want to read it. That is like, oh my God, you touched my heart. You felt me from 2,000 miles away. And I thank you. So Rick is one of my inspirations. I'm not going to read the poem. You guys can read the poem. But it's pretty amazing. His work, if you haven't seen his work, is amazing. Now you got to work. There we go. So I am talking about neurodiversity. And I have had several of you guys come up to me and go, I am so excited to hear about this, because you know you are neurodiverse. What I learned is most people don't know when they're neurodiverse. And it is a strange world that we live in, because I'm a huge believer that there are a lot more of us, especially in this room, than we think about. So what is neurodiversity? It is a non-medical term, okay? It hasn't been around that long. It was only coined in 1998. It describes people whose brain work differently. Not a challenge, not a gift. It's both, okay? So we think differently, we learn differently, we process differently, we behave differently. And I said I was thanking Lenora, and it's because she came to me when I was broken and said, if you were not this way, the world would be without Vet Rehab. You saw it. You see things differently, and that is a gift, and you should be so grateful for that. And I am. So we have different struggles. We have different talents. And when we learn to use them appropriately and to the best of our knowledge, we can do amazing things. I am not going to be talking about people who have trouble with visualization or a lot of verbal challenges. I'm going to be talking about high-functioning neurodiversity, but no, there's all kinds. And I kind of prefer the term neurospicy sometimes. So autism is a said autism spectrum disorder. It is not. I totally disagree with that word disorder. I'm just different. There's nothing to cure. I may have different challenges, and some people that are neurodiverse may benefit from therapy. I have a lot of therapy, but it's extremely beneficial. Some people benefit from medications, and that's great. I love this statistic. When they looked at 11, because there were only 11 that year, Yale math Olympiads, and they tested them, 7 of the 11 tested high for autism spectrum disorder, right? Huge. We're smart people. When they look at the general population of who is diagnosed, 20% of people in the US are thought of as neurodiverse. I am a huge believer that in our population, our vets, our techs, our people that are drawn to animals, is significantly higher. So I am going to tell you about the fruit bowl, so the different types that fill in neurodiversity, but then I'm going to concentrate on two. So ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, they say is about 4 to 5% of adults. They may seem restless, they may have trouble concentrating, they act on impulse. That's my partner, Mona. Seriously, she's diagnosed that way, and I thought, how ironic, right? God works in many ways, that me, who's autistic, neurodiverse, and her come together. But there's others, and you need to know about them. So just because you're going to be working with some of these people, and you're going to go, oh, that's how your brain thinks. That's okay. Dyspraxia, 6 to 10%, difficulty planning their actions, right? And how to accomplish them. How many of you guys know people or work with people, right? Okay. Dyslexia, 10 to 15% of people. It's not just reading. It's trouble with fluent words and spelling. I know, and I was talking to somebody yesterday, when I went to vet school, I got more points wrong in anatomy because I spelt things wrong. I had like 98% of the answers, and I got a B because of spelling, right? Okay, that's just dyspraxia. Dyslexia. Alexithymia is the inability to identify and verbalize your feelings. 10% of the general population, 50 to 80% of autistic people have problems with this. People say, how are you feeling? You're like, I don't know. And it's real. You have no clue. You have a hard time differentiating what the different emotions are. Autism spectrum disorder. Again, they say 1 to 2%, but we're going to talk a lot about that stuff. Dyscalculia. I have a good friend who was told when she was young, you're just no good at math, right? It's part of being neurodiverse. 3 to 7% have a severe problem putting math together. These are not the people you want figuring out your drug dosages, but they may be really good at other things. There's dysgraphia, 5 to 20%. Difficulty writing. They can be brilliant, but having trouble putting their thoughts onto paper. Bipolar. I think everybody knows someone who's bipolar, though they say it's only 1 to 4%. Right? They are so drawn to animals, yet they go from mania to depression. And then OCD. Okay, realistically, how many of you guys are or know someone who's OCD? Yeah, right? So they say it's only 2 to 3%. I don't think so. But what we need to know here is persistent and unwanted thoughts, urges, or impulses done to relieve anxiety, right? So that's really important to know. So when you see someone and they're like, this has to go here, this has to, right? I alphabetize my spices, right? I'm one of those people. It brings me calm to have things in order. And that's a good thing. That's the people you want cleaning the clinic and making sure there's this many tablets in this bottle and that many tablets in that bottle, right? It's an amazing thing. So when you see them and they're stressed, don't go, oh my God, you're at it again. Go, what can I do to help you, right? Because it's a great gift. I love, love, love this picture, right? It goes through all the different types of, I can do it on both sides. This is awesome, right? And yet, when we look at the problems that we have, what's in the middle? Creativity, verbal skills, honesty, sensory awareness, resilience, innovative thinking, hyper-focus, which can be good, it's me, and authenticity, which is our heart. Why the topic? Honestly, I am God-led. You guys know that, if you know me. And I came into this kicking and screaming. Things happen for a reason. I listened to a podcast, I'll talk about it in a minute, and I'm like, I think like that, I think like that. Wait, but I think like that. And I would talk to my therapist, and she's like, I don't think so. And then we talked for a while, and she's like, yeah, you should get tested. And I'm like, okay. And wouldn't you know that as I'm starting to go through the testing process, I have friggin' breakfast with Temple Grandin, right? How does that happen? Julie Busby's amazing. And when we sat down, we totally connected. I friggin' have Temple Grandin's text number. We talk. She's an amazing person. We think alike. I have to tell you this story because this is like why I see rehab, and it totally helped me. Temple Grandin was working at a cattle farm. I don't know, how many of you guys know her story? Awesome, right? She's amazing. She's at the thing, and they're like, these darn cows, it gets 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and they are not going into their pen. This is absolutely ridiculous. And she said, of course they're not. You're trying to feed them to a spider. I'm like, who are you, and what are you talking about? The shadows came on this and created what looked like a giant spider here. And all of a sudden, those cows that were going through in the morning were like, I'm not going into that spider. I'm not going into that spider. And she created a system that doesn't have the shadows, and it is now in more than 50% of feedlots. Right? We see things differently, and it's a gift. So why am I talking about it? Because when you know that you're neurodiverse, you understand yourself. It is not an excuse, but it is an understanding. How many of you guys know anything about mindfulness? Yeah. When we can see the big picture, we can make choices. This is how my brain wants to work. Do I want to do that? Or do I want to make a change and do this? It helps. It helps with relationships. When you know your partner is neurodiverse, or your coworker or your child, you can understand that this is how they are, and what can I do to help them? How can I build them? How can I encourage them and help them grow? So it can be vets, it can be our community, it can be our family. The low estimate right now is there's about 78 million people that are neurodiverse worldwide. I think if we can help people identify and learn about it, that we can, and not feel shame about it, which is huge. It's not sick, it's not defective. It is how my brain is wired, and it's a good thing. We are happier. As a group, neurodiverse people are more persistent and more resilient. And once we know about it, we can overcome our struggles much easier. So I'm concentrating on ADHD and autism. Know that there's a lot more out there, but I have an hour, so I'll teach you what I can. ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. You may have problems managing your emotions, right? Outbursts. Your thoughts and actions may feel chaotic. You may have a little bit of inattention. You may be hyperactive. You may act impulsively. When you think about it and you realize, oh, this is the way my brain is working, I'm having a hard time with this, then I can make that choice of, do I want to sit down and take a time out? Do I want to collect myself and be able to focus on this and make rules and structure for myself so that I can have a better life, because this is where I want to be, not living in my reactive world out here. I love this. How many of you guys feel like this is your life? Slept through my alarm, cursing, panic, overwhelm, lost my phone, stayed up late. Right? Me, right in the middle. I'm not ADHD. That was not one of my diagnoses, but I feel that sometimes. People with ADHD struggle starting things. Oh yeah, I'm going to do that tomorrow or next week. And then they get started, and they've started all of these things, and they have trouble finishing them. Okay? Yeah. I still have this much of an unpainted space on my wall. 2 years, 3 years. It's okay. It'll get done. What you need to know there is they are not lazy. They are not procrastinating. It is not a choice. It is how their brain works. And if we work with them, we can help them make choices to smooth their life out. Because those things that are not done or not started are what overwhelms them and builds stress. And we can help that. What we need to know is that there's comorbidities with these. So if you know someone who has ADHD, or if you have it yourself, you are more likely to feel depression, have substance abuse, generalized anxiety, social phobias, other phobias, panic disorders. Are you getting the clue there that fear is a big part of this? Bipolar, dysthymia, which is mild depression, OCD, intermittent explosive disorders. How many of you guys have worked with somebody who may have intermittent explosive disorders? Yep. eating disorders. More importantly, health disorders that come with this. Hypertension, type 2 diabetes, obesity, asthma, migraines. Why do we need to know this? Because if you are ADHD, you are more likely to get it at a younger age. You're more likely to have increased severity, prolonged durations, increased complications, more chronicity, and more likely to relapse. So that if you have these migraines, you have this hypertension, and you know this up front, you can say, oh, I'm getting a migraine. I need to do this because I know that it's more likely to lead to that. You make choices. Understand ADHD, there's some great people, amazing people with ADHD. Michael Phelps, Adam Levine, Justin Timberlake, Jim Carrey, Bill Gates, Walt Disney. All right, so if Walt Disney's neurodiverse, right? If from what I understand from his story is that he had the vision, he had the dream, and it's his brother who took care of building everything, right? Working together with other people, we can do things together and make great things happen. Superpowers of ADHD, the things we want to think about, the gifts that we have. Hyperfocus, be resilient, extremely creative. Think of Jim Carrey in like Pet Detective or whatever. You're like, who is this man, right? Great conversational skills, blasts of spontaneity, abundant energy and exuberance. Yeah, Mo, that's you. Exactly. Emotional sensitivity, a interpersonal empath. How many of you guys know people who are empathic, right, or are? Yeah, right, we know these. Super positive sides. This to me is fascinating. I studied this. Their brains literally work faster than people without ADHD. Their non-linear thinking allows them to be better problem solvers. They catch on to new ideas faster. They are more likely to be able to close their eyes and see a 3D image, right? So some people close their eyes and they can't see anything. It's black. Some people can see 2D images. Some people can literally close their eyes and see a car and turn it around and see up and down and see it in their mind. It's an amazing gift. If you are ADHD, you may have a hard time talking to someone who is neurotypical, right? Neurotypical people have the best time talking, easiest time talking to neurotypical people. Yet, if you get an ADHD person talking to an ADHD person, not only can they talk, oh my God, if you have ever seen this, they're like blah, 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 blah. They're not finishing sentences, but they're understanding each other, and they go back and forth, and you're like, what the heck just happened? And like, yeah, we got it. It's a great gift when you're with somebody like that. Oh, I love this. One of the things they say to think about if you're ADHD, somebody talks to you in a normal tone, and it's agony for you. Because you're like, I know what you're going to say, damn it, spit it out, right? Or they're trying to answer you before you're even done answering your question. And it's not because they're trying to be rude, it's because they get you, they know what you're thinking. I laughed at this. If you have a child, anybody here have a neurodiverse child? Uh-huh. If your child is ADHD, 40% of the time, yeah, it's one of the, or both of the parents that are ADHD. So I have a good friend who is brilliant, right? She does research at a vet school, like unbelievably brilliant, like Yale Math Olympia brilliant. And I'm talking to her on a Zoom, and her kid comes in, and he's like 3, and he's neurodiverse. And it was so funny. He's like screaming, and she picks him up, and she's like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, I have kids. I totally understand it. And she's like, he's my neurodiverse one. He must get it from his father. And I'm like, oh, dear. Someone needs to look in the mirror, but not my place to say anything. If you're ADHD, one of the things that I've found is that if you spend time with other people that are ADHD, you will be happier, right? Because they get you. You can have those fast conversations. Realize they may be ADHD too when you find someone that you connect with. Important. Find activities that build your strength, help with your creativity, whether that may be pottery or art or learning an instrument, somewhere that you can focus and do what you need to do that brings out your self-confidence and your self-esteem. When you try to hide and pretend to be neurotypical, it brings you down. It increases your depression, it increases your shame, and it drops your confidence. Don't go there. Or make that choice. Not my place to tell you what to do. Anybody who's interested, we'll put this up for 1 second, take a picture, right? These are some of the top testing places, and I recommend that even if you test and you go, I took all of the tests and they say I'm ADHD, talk to a medical professional, right? That's the only true way to diagnose. Okay, autism. They say is 1 to 2% of the adults. Again, in this group, I think it's much higher. I put this picture up first, and I have a picture on the next slide, because it is not linear. It's not you're less autistic or more autistic. It's a whole circle, and you may have a little bit of this, and a little bit of that, and a little bit of this. I'll do it over here too. This, or this, or this, right? There's different pieces, and we're not all the same, and that's okay. Women are severely underdiagnosed because we present differently. We see things differently. Women are more likely to have exceptional detail, attention to detail, excellent pattern recognition, right? I think, honestly, one of the things I see things in dogs is because I'm like, I see what the dog is doing. I read the dog. I feel the dog. And I get it, and I know how to fix them. Wonderful problem-solving skills. One of the clues is if you know about your past is hyperlexia, which means you read early in life, male or female, and you were able to read much higher levels. So if you're like in 3rd grade and you're reading books that are this thick, you may have autism. And it's okay, it's good. So so this is my other picture. It's not even, it's not linear, it's not 2D, it's like a globe, and it can be anywhere in there. And there's no such thing as everyone is a little autistic. That's almost offensive to people with autism, because it's saying like, you're just like everybody else, because we're not. We are different. And it's a range. We have other comorbidities and other thoughts. So if you are autistic, and I may screw this up because I'm learning it myself, one of the things they say is it is not a disease, it is not a process, it is who you are, it's an identifier. So you don't say so-and-so has autism, you say they are autistic. It's not something that is added on, it's who you are. And I still screw that up, so I took that slide out, I'm like, no. But we have to realize if you have autism, I just said it, right? If you are autistic, you may also have ADHD, very common, dyslexia, dyspraxia. You're more likely to be hypermobile, right? People that can take their thumbs and take it down here. More likely to have epilepsy and gut issues. Understand this can be anything from Rain Man. How many of you guys have seen the movie Rain Man, right? The best thing I can think about him is they dropped the toothpicks, right? And he's like, 294. And what are you talking about? There's 294 toothpicks? And like, it's a brand new box of 300. There's no way, you can't count that. And they're like, oh wait, in the box there's 6 more. Pattern recognition. I knew how many it is, right? All the way to Einstein, right? If you look at Einstein and you look at his stories, he was a total jerk. He had 0 social skills. People hated him. And he was brilliant and helped us tremendously. So all different levels. And if you see this sign, this is a sign of autism. That is like the accepted rainbow infinity sign. It can be everywhere. So how did I know I was autistic? How many of you guys have ever heard of Hannah Gadsby? Okay, some of you guys. I think it is so ironic. She's a comedian. And I listened to a podcast with her and Glennon Doyle. And that's where I was like, oh my God, I think like her. I think like her. And then the irony of it is I watched her perform, and I'm like, to me, she's not funny. But that's my sense of humor. It's not her. People love her, right? Well, some of the things she said is she realized that she would say things and go, look at their face. Probably shouldn't say that again. Okay, that's how you learn, right? Or her brain is like a Rolodex, and Temple says the same thing. She has all these things in the Rolodex, and she goes, okay, what do I need to do? I need to pick that one out, and that's what I'm going to do. One of the things that's common is you prefer to work next to somebody. I love this because in the studies that look at socialization, they say women talk like this. They look into each other's eyes, they get deep into conversation, and they're blah, 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 blah. And they talk about emotions and deep things. And men can talk to each other, but they're side by side, right? I don't want to look at you. I don't want to touch you, for sure, right? And they can communicate that way. As an autistic person, it is for me, I would much rather be me here doing my thing and you here doing your thing. So this is going to be real, raw, and vulnerable. Please don't take offense to anything I say. Because in my head, I'm like, okay, I got this covered. You got that covered. I don't have to worry about you. You've got this. Or I can help you, but it's not that interpersonal thing. It's just that's work for me. We need to talk about masking and camouflaging because this can be exhausting. Think about, the best way to explain this would be, you go see the Queen, right? No one's ever been, well, maybe you guys have seen, I've never seen the Queen in live. But if you were to go, you're like, I know I have to dress fancy. I know I have to curtsy. I have to behave this way. What am I going to do? I am going to look around and see what everyone else is doing because they must be doing it right. And then I'm going to try to follow that, right? Is an autistic person, that is what we do every day when we're surrounded by people, is we are constantly, without thinking about it, right? And once we know it, we can make choices, follow what everybody else is doing so that I am camouflaging myself. I look neurotypical because I don't want to look like myself because I'm afraid of who I am. I'm not comfortable, I'm ashamed, I'm depressed about who I am because I don't understand it. Once we understand it, then we can make choices and do great things. When you do that, it is exhausting. How many of you guys have ever had a day at work and you're talking to people all day long and you come home and you don't want to talk to anybody? You don't want to see anybody? You're like, give me the couch. Don't talk to me. My phone goes over there. Maybe I'll eat, right? That's part of that. That's what it may look like. Mirroring was like, blew me away. I didn't know I did it. I went to a Tony Robbins. How many of you guys know who Tony Robbins is? Awesome, okay? So I did an online Tony Robbins thing, and they're like, we're going to do a mirroring exercise because this helps you connect. And I'm like, this is great. I want to connect with my clients. And they said, you're going to watch the person, and you're going to consciously think about following their facial features. So when they nod, you nod. When they smile, you smile. If they frown, you frown, right? And you connect with them. And I did it, and the guy who I was doing it with had done it before, and he's like, wow, you're really good at it. I'm like, I think I didn't really have to try. And then he did it back to me, and it was total shutdown. It was, oh my God, you are in my personal space. I am violated. You are not allowed to do that. And I thought, wow, what's going on in my head? This is crazy. I don't understand it. But it's something that if you see it and you recognize it, that may be part of who you are. I was excited at first because I'm like, I got this Tony Robbins thing down pat. All right, inappropriate laughing. My office manager used to get so mad at me. She'd be like, this dog has this problem, this person called in sick, this person is getting chewed out at the front desk. And I'd be like, oh my God, that's hysterical. And she'd be like, why are you happy? And I'd be like, listen, I can laugh or I can cry. I can laugh and relieve stress and be able to deal with it, or cry and get more stress. I choose this. And then I realized that's part of my personality. And it's, again, for me, it was a gift. Okay, how many of you guys watch Big Bang Theory? Penny, right? OCD. With autism, we have ritualistic behaviors. One of my things, and I promise this is not about me, this is about helping everybody. If I have a big project, my kitchen has to be clean. I have no idea why, but it has to be clean. Counters are clean. I can sit down and I can do my project. I can focus on it. If you're gonna laugh at me, that's okay. If I brush my teeth at night, I can't eat anything. It's great for a diet. You brush it, because literally, Mona will be like, hey, you want some cookies? I really wish I could, but I already brushed my teeth. You can brush your teeth again. No, I can't. I can't. I just can't have it. Proprioception or lack of it, right? I've done martial arts, and I'm like, how do you do that so well? Because my body doesn't do that. And you can work through it, but it's a lower starting point. Let's just put it there. Audio processing disorder. One of these is, think about if you're in a room, right? We have a banquet, and you're talking here, and you're talking here, and you're talking here. You may see me sitting doing nothing and just smiling, because I can't grasp any of it. Because there's too many different things, and my brain just shuts down, and I just smile and nod. And it's okay. And then if the person next to me talks to me, I can talk, because then I can push that out. But a lot of times I can't. Hyperfocus. How many of you guys have ever sat down to do a project, and the next thing you know, it's like 3 to 5 hours later? Uh-huh. Yeah, absolutely. Which can be an amazing gift. And if you're the person who wants their attention, not so nice. But it's okay. I can't watch TV, because if I sit down, how many of you guys have ever binge-watched something? Okay? I can't shut it off. I will literally say, Mona, can you shut the TV off? Like, the remote's right there. I know, I can't do it. I can't. I don't understand it. My brain doesn't work that way. Okay, so I just don't turn it on. You can choose to have it be a blessing and a curse, or a curse. I choose to make my diagnosis a blessing, because I realize at this point that it helps me in life. My mission, I understand my mission. My mission is empowering people to help pets, right? So I can take my traits and help and use them to help other people. Interesting relationship with humor. Go to a comedy show, and I can sit there and be like, Everyone else is laughing hysterically. It's just not funny to me. But a year after having 2 goats, I would walk outside every morning and go, hi, kids. Right? I listen to Caleb, and they have bad dad jokes, and I giggle with every single one of them. It's just a different sense of humor. My brain works differently. And there's times that Mona will lean over and say, that was sarcasm. I'm like, huh, okay. Yeah, subtle clues sometimes just don't get there. I am so passionate and focused about my small, hyper-focused area of interest that I have a hard time with other things. So when I grew up, my family would do this thing where everyone would get together for Thanksgiving or Christmas or a birthday, and they would have a meal and then watch TV. And they would watch sports. And it was painful for me. I'm like, no one's talking. What's the deal? Okay, poke me in the eye with a fork. This is painful. I don't care that he hit a home run. I don't care that, he hit a basket. What's more important, the way we think what's important to us is what we're interested in, not what may be important in the world. The way Hannah Gatsby said it is she had a whole bunch of women over at her house, and she's like, yeah, talk amongst yourself. I'm going to rearrange the furniture. I need to do something that is important to me, not so much just the chit-chat. Problem solvers. When I grew up, my dad would not allow me to play with Legos because that was a boy's toy. That was a logic thing. And I learned that my brain works to see a problem and fix it rather than just complain about it, and that's a good thing. A lot of people with autism are strong in math and logic, right? Okay, so for you guys, you now have to give me at least one pass because I am admitting I have facial blindness. Didn't understand it. I just thought that I was bad because people will come up to me and say, hey, Laurie, how's it going? I'd be like, hi, what's your name tag say? Right? They'll be like, yeah, I spent a week with you. I stayed at your house doing an internship. Not a clue. That was like 2 years ago. Sorry. Just one of my weaknesses, right? So forgive me if I look at your name tag. At least now I understand why. And I am better with dog names. How many of you guys are better with dog names than people names? Yes, thank you. You can feel me. Time blindness. I have a rule with my clients, and my clients are cool with this because if they're not, they can't be my clients. My rule is I never promise to be on time. And I do promise when I'm with you, because I hyper-focus, I will spend as much time as I need to with you and help your dog and you before I go to the next client. If you need someone to be on time, I will help you find somebody else. And my clients understand that when they need that extra time, that is a huge benefit to them. And because we're in a room of veterinarians, I charge them for every minute of it. So don't take that away from yourself. You're using your gifts. You're helping them. I underestimate how long something will take. Right? How many of you guys do that? You're like, oh, I can have that done in a week. I have that done in 5 minutes. 3 hours later, you're like, okay, not happening. Okay. Or I gauge, well, I run behind schedule. I'll just put it that way. Difficulty appreciating yourself or others, right? Others' emotions. So same as I don't get all the emotions, I may have trouble reading somebody else's emotions. Trouble with eye contact. I can remember as a kid my dad shaking me and saying, damn it, look at me when I talk to you. Okay, Dad. So now I'm like hyper-focused on people when I talk to them. My eyes are right on them. I am so friggin' literal. I can't lie because it's not worth lying because I can't remember any of that. But I'm so literal, I have to say things in a way that is 100% truthful. It's crazy. It's just the way my brain works. Sensory differences. We can be more or less affected by sight, smell, taste, sound. For me, wind, like a fan, is uncomfortable. White noise, no good for me. Sensory overload. Right. Being around a crowd of people is wonderful until it's not. Then I need to recharge. Any neurodivergence, executive functioning. You guys can tell me if you feel this too. I can come to work and answer your question, answer your question, answer your question, answer your question, but then I get overwhelmed and I can't answer my name, right? How many of you guys have ever had that? You get overwhelmed and your brain just doesn't work, right? We see that. Nonlinear thinking. I approach things from a totally different way and people go, where is that coming from? I don't know, God, well, not me. Anything smart coming out of my mouth is not me. Sensory overload. This is really important because this is our stress, and this I think is really part of compassion fatigue. Understanding when you get stressed, what happens to you. Either you hit fight, right? Blah! You blow up, right? And people are like, stay away from her, right? But understand if somebody is doing that, it's because they're stressed, and we can help diminish their stress and help them cope. Flight, right? They run away. For me, it's compartmentalize. I disassociate with it. Part of that is freeze. I don't know what to do. I'm not going to do anything, right? We can do that. You need to write a book chapter, right? I'm not going to do it. Or fawn. How many of you guys have ever been, somebody yells at you like, I'm so sorry, I'm an idiot, I'm stupid, I didn't see it, right? It's the worst thing you can do for yourself. Watch your words, because your brain hears that. And anything new comes out of your mouth and your voice, your brain is going to remember much better than something somebody else says to you. Any of that stuff is going to build up in you, and you are more likely to get adrenal fatigue and then lead to burnout. This one, I did. This one is so freaking important. What do we see from adrenal fatigue? We go into meltdown mode, right? This is when you stomp your feet and you act like a 2-year-old. It is an outward sign of stress and anxiety. And if it's not taken care of, right, whether it be our staff members or ourselves, it leads to shutdown. How many of you guys have ever gone into shutdown? Right? It is, you are numb. You are in survival mode. You do what is absolutely necessary. You put out the fires today so that you can keep going for tomorrow. That is not a safe place to live. It's not a long-acting place to live. It is scientific, right? The dorsal vagus nerve disconnects us from the world to protect us. We need to change that. Also to know is that meltdowns and shutdowns can be misinterpreted as panic attacks and PTSD. So when we see somebody acting with that, we need to act with compassion. All right, how do we help? Right, we see this at the workplace. We see this in our family. Speak slow and gently. As few words as possible. Are you okay? How can I help you? not, what is going on with you, right? Asking if they need something and understand they may not be able to answer you. And you pushing them to answer is just going to increase their stress. Help them find a quiet place, or yourself find a quiet place that you can feel safe. Don't go ahead and give them a big bear hug, because that may freak them out, right? Ask if you can touch them. They may not want to be touched. Stay away from loud noises, sudden movements. Reduce sensory stimuli. Dim the lights. Turn off the noise. Don't have big scents going on, right? Give them time to recover. I was talking to somebody who was in a food situation, a very fancy restaurant, very high-paced. And they said that they had a meltdown word because all of them got it at some point. Right? They're crazy. Everyone's doing their own thing. And someone would say meltdown, and the rule was they had to go outside. The door had to get shut. They had to stay out there for at least 10 minutes. They would meditate, do deep breathing, whatever they did. Everybody else knew that that person was in that position and covered their tables and took care of everything for them until they came back. And they got it. And they were a tight team because every single one of them had had that happen to them. And that's what kept them together and kept them sane, which I thought was great. Understand neurotypical people also can have meltdowns. Okay, how many of you guys associate with this? Everyone's like FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. I'm like joy of missing out. Put me up in my farm. I can be in the little orchard, hang out by the stream. I'm really happy. Enjoy our time alone. Our values are different. We have internal metrics. We are our own worst enemy. How many of you guys are your own worst self-critic, right? It is, right? We don't care about fame or competition or material wealth, right? How many of us, we don't have a lot, right? We're vets, right? We're not in it for that. One of the reasons my therapist actually said I needed to get tested is because, like, I worked on Michael Jordan's dog, and they said, you know what? No, I wasn't dealing with Michael. I wasn't dealing with Juanita. It was her driver that I dealt with, right? And they're like, we want you to do house calls. And I'm like, if you don't have time to take care, to just bring your dog in, I will help you with someone else. And she's like, you didn't go to Michael Jordan's house? I'm like, no. I have the clients that I love, taking care of the pets that I care about. Why would I do that? I got offered to fly in a private jet because one of my clients roomed in college with Laura Bush. And they're like, you know, we can fly you on the jet and take you to take care of Laura's dogs. And I'm like, well, let me look at my schedule because my days are either taking care of patients or with my family, and I needed like a whole day to be able to do that. Wrong answer. I didn't get to do that, and I was okay with that because I had my family and I had the patients that I cared about. Sometimes we look like introverts. Sometimes we look like we're antisocial, but we have a different type of connection. When we connect with people, it's a deep, energetic feeling connection. How many of you guys feel that? Yes. All right, this one is important to me, and there is nothing against guys, but I saw this and I'm like, Men that are on the spectrum, they're applauded. They are smart and strong and decisive and powerful. Steve Jobs, Einstein, Bill Gates. Women are criticized for being belligerent, unreasonable, malicious, controlling, aggressive, or dominant. It is found that women on the spectrum actually suffer from PTSD because of all the external stress, because we're women acting the same way. Think about the surgeon stereotype, right? They're brilliant. They don't have a great bedside manner. They yell. They throw things in surgery. How many of you guys know people like that? I have surgeons that I know that are not like that at all, and yet that's our stereotype, right? They're workaholics. They work 16 hours a day because they hyper-focus. I think a lot of them are both ADHD and autistic. 2 minutes, okay. There's two different kinds of empathy. There's affective empathy, which is feeling what the other feels like, and cognitive empathy, which is knowing what they feel like. Neurodiverse people are much more likely to have affective empathy. We feel what that dog feels. We feel what that person feels. I work with a person, and I've been playing with a bunch of you guys at my booth, right, and fixing your back and stuff like that because I feel you. I feel where the pain is, right? Neurotypical people are much more likely to have cognitive empathy. Compassion fatigue, right? We give until the point of collapse. Right? It leads to PTSD or burnout. We ride the roller coaster. People say, how's your life? I'm like, it's a roller coaster, which is great. I love it. It's ups, it's downs, it spins, it's turns. And sometimes I say, God, please, let me get off for a few minutes and just stand in line. Then I can get back on. Right? We live like that. It is what fills us up and what drains us out at the same time. Weirdly enough, they've done studies that show that people with autism have heightened pain perception. And even if you're just anticipating pain, it drops your empathy significantly. That was fascinating. There's online tests. Again, if you guys want to take pictures, I didn't put the actual websites up, but I figured it's a chance to see some of the really good tests. And again, if you're like, yep, I think I am, or someone in my family or friend is, go seek a medical professional. Okay. Oops. Understanding. Peace and understanding leads to a road of balance, right? We want to work for balance for our lives, for our workplaces, our culture. So some of the things that help us, you may do this and may not realize this is helping you. Tapping, right? It may be dancing, right? We have our banquet coming up. It may be flapping. How many of you guys are excited? You're like, yay, right? I do that to the dogs, and I don't know if you guys know this, but if you flap to dogs, you go, hi, how's it going? They get so excited. I don't know why. And all of a sudden, I had to ask somebody, what's flapping? And they told me, I'm like, I do that all the time with the dogs. Right? Bouncing, right? We may bounce, we may move, we may spin, we may dance, we may do stimming, right? For me, yes. Dogs get excited. For me, rubbing my palms is extremely soothing. I put this up here. You guys can laugh at me. It is okay. You see this big fuzzy thing? That's mine. I have that in my car, and I rub my hands on it, and it is so soft. It is so calming. It's amazing. So because I do house calls, I can do it several times a day. It's great. When we are not allowed to do any of these things, we shut down. We get depressed. We have a problem. So if you feel like you're in this neurodiverse world, know to look for these things. And if you're feeling like you're depressed or having issues, try it. Even if you fake it till you make it, it can be extremely beneficial. Okay, this is one. Okay, you got to give me one more minute. Okay, pink elephant in the room. This is an important one. I read this, and I'm like, this is amazing. It can be a pink elephant. It can be something in your clinic. It can be something in your house. When someone is at that point of meltdown or breakdown, they can grab the pink elephant and put it down. They don't have to say anything. Everybody else in the room knows somebody is stressed. Somebody is having a problem. We are going to be extra compassionate. We are going to be extra helpful. We are going to get through it. And when they're done, they put it back. Right? And it doesn't have to be you. It can be like, oh, I know what's going on with her. I'm going to put this pink elephant down so that we have a better work environment, a better culture. Blue glasses. How many of you guys have blue blocker glasses? People with autism, our eyes are much more sensitive to blue light. If you don't have it, you need to get them because it screws up your retina and you won't know it until it's too late. Nurturing neurodiversity. Don't fear the difference. Myth. Being neurodivergent equates to incompetence. It does not. We have a lot of great gifts. Truth. It offers fresh perspectives, innovative problem solving, and unconventional approaches. So embrace the chaos and the magic. In work, in our family, we are always, they say the chain is weakest at its weakest link. It's only as strong as the weakest link. So if you think there's somebody in your culture, family, work, that is the weakest link, build them up. Help them, right? Create space for them. Workplace accommodations. Put in structures and strategies. Give people small or manageable steps. Have clear expectations. It's written down. You can read it. Go step by step. You may need to create an Excel spreadsheet so that you have it. Implement your organizational systems. OSHA loves this when everything is written down for you. And allow flexibility because sometimes people need a 5-minute break, a 10-minute break. If you can, have a place like our Zen room, right? It may be that you have something at work where you can hang up a sign that says, I need 5 minutes of space. You may have candles in there, you may have stones in there, you may have a soft place to sit, somewhere to relax and recharge. Embrace your quirks of love. If you have neurodiverse children and you're a mom, Julie Busby is part of the Facebook group, DVM Moms with Neurodivergent Kids. That is just wonderful. When I have a hard day and I read that and I see what other people are going through, it just helps me realize how blessed I am. Patience and empathy. Kindness speaks louder than words. Don't judge. Have compassion. Be patient. Be understanding. Show your empathy. And I love this picture, right? When we all work together, we can create that love and that peace. When we take it apart, it's just red hands. Organizations for autism. National Autistic Society. I won't read them. They're up there. I do want to warn you, there's something called Autism Speaks that has been known to raise money for autism. And it is looked down upon by people with autism because it's more about trying to change people and break people to make them somewhere else, to cure them. So I'm not telling you what to do, but just beware. And then I'll leave you with another one of Rick's poems that really touched my heart. I hope you had fun. I hope this was meaningful to you, and thank you. Enjoy your lunch.
There's lunch in the exhibit hall now. If you wish to stay and ask Laurie, Dr. McCauley questions, she may be welcome to entertain some questions. Thank you so much.